for today.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Beaumont is Deerfield's head girls cross-country coach. Before coaching at DHS, he coached at Niles West for 1 year. This is his 23rd year at DHS and works as a counselor. He's coached boys soccer for a year, girls track for 23 years, and a combination of boys and girls cross-country for 22 years. As an athlete, Coach Beaumont was a soccer player and a track athlete at Maine South. In soccer, in his words, he was a bench warmer. In track, he was all conference for 2 years, conference champ 3 times, and state qualifier 3 times. He ran cross country and track at D1 Southern Illinois University, who were conference champs his senior year. When we asked Coach, what does it mean to be a warrior? He said that he gets excited about winning and qualifying for state, but he also gets excited for the individuals who achieve their goals. The longer it takes to reach them, the sweeter it feels. Being a warrior is setting those lofty goals and sticking with it until they're achieved. When asked about his favorite memory at DHS, he said, all the firsts, the first conference championship for each team I coached, and the first time we qualified for the state meets in cross country. His coaching resume includes, for boys cross country, 2 conference champs, 2 individual state qualifiers. For girls track, as head coach, we won 3 conference championships and had 7 individual state qualifiers. For girls cross country, 2 conference championships and 3 teams qualify for state meet. Coach himself has run 10 marathons and completed 1 Ironman. Quite the resume. It is our pleasure to introduce to you all Coach Beaumont, who today will be speaking to you on how you must eat to compete.
All right, thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you for tuning in today. We've heard so far in these webinars, we've heard a lot about the mental aspect of sport, from toughness to overcoming obstacles, to building a foundation for your program, to a winning mindset, to time management, to leadership, to visualizing success. And these are incredibly important topics. If you think about what Ivy Watts said last week, that sport is 85% mental. So how can you perform well physically if you're not mentally where you need to be? So we should be emphasizing, there's been a ton of emphasis on the mental nature of sport and competing. And there should be, because it's 85% of what we do. But what we also heard in one of these presentations is control what you can control. So why wouldn't we give ourselves the maximum opportunity success in what we're trying to do? So I thank you for giving me the time and giving me your attention to talk about a topic that I am very passionate about, fueling your body. What are we going to put in? We can control that. What are we going to put into our body to have the most chance for success in our competition? One thing that introduction did not say is that I'm a science nerd. I used to teach biology at Deerfield High School, so I apologize in advance if I get really excited about the biology and the physiology behind what I'm going to talk about today, because there are reasons. That's why I like science, is for reasons why we do what we do. And in a lot of cases, your nutrition will directly impact how you perform. Unfortunately, I have learned from mistakes. Coach Tomlinson mentioned that I did an Ironman once. It was a few years ago now, but I set out when I turned 40 to prove that I wasn't getting older, I was getting better. So I made this goal of finishing an Ironman when I turned 40. And if you don't know, it's a triathlon. So you swim 2.4 miles, you bike 112 miles, and you run a marathon at the end. So 26 miles to finish off your day. So I had trained for a year. I was ready to go. I was excited, and I had a very meticulous, detailed nutrition plan for that day. Because you can, the biking shirts that you have all these pockets in them, so you can shove food in your pockets. You've got a pouch on your bike, so you can have water and food right there on your bike. And the way the Ironman's organized is you can set bags up at different points along the course, so that you can have people hand you food and the nutrition that you need along the way. So I had it all mapped out, how everything was going to go during the day. And was swimming. Everything went great in the swim. Was about 10 minutes ahead of pace. I was super excited. I get out of the water, throw on my bike clothes, start my bike. I'm like, I am feeling good today. Like, this is a year's worth of work all coming through today. Everything is going wonderful. And I'm just rolling along the hills and countryside of rural Wisconsin, feeling great. And about 30 miles into the bike, I realized that I had not eaten, drank anything. So I was about 3 hours into the competition and totally forgot about this plan that I had carried out because I just got so excited. So needless to say, later on in the bike, I bonked hard. I mean, I literally you don't know, like you've probably woken up in the middle of the night with a Charlie horse where your leg cramps up. I had that in every major muscle group in my body, from my quads to my hamstrings to my calves, arms, neck, everything was seized up. So unfortunately, I had to finish. I did finish, but I learned a lesson about fueling your body and giving it the nutrition and the energy it needs to do what you've set out to do. And I don't think any of us in high school are going to do an Ironman. Maybe someday that's a goal of yours, and that would be fabulous. I'd love to hear about it. But think about it. That competition, that day took me 13 hours. It was a 13-hour event. So think about your school day, especially when we're in school. You wake up at, say, 7 a.m., you get ready, you go to school. Oh, I'm running a little late. I don't have time for breakfast. And then you go through all your classes, and during lunch, you've got to study for a test, and then you take your test, and after school, you've got to meet with the teacher, and then you go to practice, or maybe you have a competition that night. It gets to be 12, 13 hours long. If you haven't taken the time and the attention to fuel your body throughout the day, you're going to bonk, whether that's for a practice, whether that's for a competition, a game, a meet, a match, whatever it is. So you really got to pay attention to these things. So again, you can give yourself the maximum opportunity to succeed. So let me share my screen here, and we will get started with some of the stuff that I want to talk to you about. Okay, so eat to compete. I have 3 guidelines that I like to follow. 1, eat what you like. Sorry, that was not for effect. That was because I was have a dry mouth. Eat what you like. My philosophy is, if you like ice cream and ice cream makes you happy, then it's good for you. Or cheeseburgers or pizza or whatever it is that you like. This is not about what you shouldn't put into your body, okay? But what else should you put in besides some of those things that you like that may not be good for you? You may not get a lot of nutritional value from them, but you don't have to eliminate foods from your diet in order to be successful as an athlete. So eat what you like. Nature does it best. A lot of what I'm going to talk to you about, almost entirely actually, is simple 1-ingredient foods. And yes, there are supplements out there, and yes, there are power bars and Gatorades and gels and fuels and powders and shakes and all these things that you can do that science has put together to try to give you all of these nutrients and supplements that you need. But when it comes down to it, nature does it best. So when you have the opportunity, go for those 1-ingredient things, like a handful of nuts or spinach or milk or whatever it is, as you'll see as we go through the presentation here. And then lastly, and this is an important one, replace what you use. As you work out or right after you work out, you've got to replenish, particularly if it's a difficult day or if it's a hot day, a hard workout, a long workout. Right when you're done, you have to immediately start replacing what you use. So remember those 3 guidelines as we go through the presentation. Okay, here's the biology. Here's the stuff that, some very basics on the physiology behind how you can optimize or maximize your athletic ability. And I kind of put these in order of the most, or what might be the most obvious to something maybe you didn't know. So 4 basics, we're mostly water. And you're gonna hear how that's so important in just a minute. Your digestive system starts with your mouth, goes through the stomach and intestines, but what that's doing is it's breaking down the food you eat, the things you drink, into components that your body can use. And some of those components that are most important to athletes are calcium, which helps to make your bones strong, protein, that's what your muscles are made out of. So protein and amino acids are going to be important to build muscle. And here's some that may or may not be as obvious, but sodium and potassium are 2 key elements, sometimes called electrolytes, that will aid your nervous system in allowing your muscles to contract. And when we exercise, we're asking a lot of our muscles, so you've got to have that sodium and potassium in there to make sure they're working efficiently, as well as oxygen / iron. Okay, oxygen, if you've been through biology, you know that as your body, as your muscles work, the more oxygen you have in your muscles, the more energy they will create. That ATP molecule, cellular respiration, you guys studied that in biology, or if you haven't taken it, you soon will. But in order to get the most energy, you want to have oxygen, and it's iron that brings oxygen. It's actually what oxygen bonds to and gets carried throughout your body to your muscles. And from of the foods you eat, your body will digest sugars first. You actually get more energy from burning fat, but the sugars that you eat and the carbohydrates that you eat, that's what your body's going to start breaking down first. Okay, so point number 1, your body is mostly water. Rehydrate, replenish, replace that water that you lost as soon as you can after a workout. Hydration is something that you really should be working on all throughout the day. From the moment you get up, your coach has probably said, hey, make sure you're drinking your water. You should have this many cups of water throughout the day. And that's true. But think about at night. If you're getting your 8 hours of sleep at night, you've just gone 8 hours without any water. So you need to start that hydration process right away in the morning. You'll wake up dehydrated, so you got to start working on that early. Water is the best. I've got a few pictures here. Water is the best, clearly. You can do some of those sports drinks because they have a lot of water, and they do have some of those electrolytes that you're going to need, but they also have some other things in there that you don't need. There's going to be some sugar calories in there that you could probably put in your body with something better than sports drinks. So juices and sports drinks aren't the best, but they're not terrible because they do have some things that you need. And I've got a picture of that chocolate milk there because that's been a very popular belief, and it's true. Chocolate milk has a lot of the stuff that you need to start replenishing right away. It has protein, it has calcium, it has water. So those are 3 of the key components that all athletes need. So a post-workout drink of chocolate milk is fantastic. One of the best things you can do for yourself. So hydration, key. Some of the other things that we talked about, some nutrient-rich foods for calcium. And throughout the presentation, I've tried to put in some things that cater to a wide array of diets. Perhaps you're a vegetarian, perhaps you're a vegan. If you are, you got to pay extra attention to, all right, how am I going to get some of the things that I need that might be in meat or dairy or something that I don't eat. So your dairy products are low calcium. Those are outstanding. Spinach, kale, green vegetables, those are going to come up a lot. There's a reason they're called superfoods, because they've got a ton of the stuff that you need, including calcium. Anchovies there in the middle, or sardines if you like to eat fish, like in a Caesar salad or on a pizza or something like that. Their bones are so small that you typically just eat those, and then you break down their bones to help build up your bones. I've got a bunch of things in here regarding protein. Your muscles are made up of protein, as I said earlier. So are all other animals. So meat, I don't have it on here, but that's the most obvious one. If you're eating, especially like lean meat, like chicken or something like that, that's a great source to get protein. But so is broccoli. So are oats, eggs. This is cottage cheese here, if you can't tell what that is. Nuts, lentils, those are real good. Other beans as well are real good for protein. Quinoa is another one of those superfoods. You're gonna hear it a lot. It comes up with a lot of the different elements and things that you need in your diet. And pumpkin seeds was a surprising one for me, but I read that in quite a few places. And my daughter's a vegetarian, so a lot of times she will pack some pumpkin seeds with her. And take a look at how many of these are easily portable, right? Like you can bring a hard-boiled egg to school with you, so that when you're waiting for your ride after practice, you can eat an egg and you start replenishing right away. Because again, you want to start refueling and replenishing as soon as you can after practice. Pumpkin seeds, very portable. These, a handful of nuts, easy to bring with you to practice or to school. Potassium, remember that muscle contraction, you need sodium and potassium. I didn't make a sodium slide because it's not hard to find salt. There's plenty of that in our diets. And potassium, probably bananas is the one that's most closely associated with it, but so are oranges and pomegranate, raisins. Sweet potatoes are an amazing superfood. Sweet potatoes have a ton of the different nutrients that we need, as well as avocados, as well as watermelon. I was surprised to learn that one too. I thought watermelon was mostly water, but it's a good source of potassium as well. More nutrient-rich foods for iron, okay? And I'll take a moment to say, don't underestimate your iron, because like I said, that's the element that helps bring oxygen to all the muscles in your body. If you are iron deficient, you're gonna wonder, why am I not able to do the things I used to do? I can't run as far. I can't swim as fast. I can't lift as much. What's going on with me? And it gets to be incredibly frustrating. And so you try to work harder. And the thing, when you're iron deficient, the harder you work, the worse you get. And then it just starts cascading and getting into a deeper and deeper situation. So I will urge you that when you get your physical, and you know, ADs will be happy to hear this, you need your physical every year. They're good for 13 months. When you get your physical, ask your doctor to check your iron levels and your ferritin levels, because you're getting a blood test anyway, so you might as well check for these things. And we've discovered over the years with cross country, some girls that were iron deficient, so they started working on building up their iron supplies, and had much better results by paying attention to that. So some foods, there's our friend broccoli again, there's quinoa again, there's your leafy green vegetables again, pumpkin seeds again, as well as peas and other legumes that are rich in iron. So you can pack your diet with some of these foods as well. And then I've got some other superfoods here. Brown rice contains manganese, which helps an enzyme that will break down your carbs. So when your body is breaking down these sugars to get energy, you get this manganese from brown rice to help with that. Dark chocolate contains magnesium, which helps with muscle contractions. This one I discovered because I was having severe issues with cramping when I was doing these endurance events, and someone suggested magnesium. And very next, I did a half Ironman shortly after that. No issues with cramping whatsoever. So dark chocolate is a good source for that. Goji berries are another superfood. They've got some of the iron that you need. They also have antioxidants, which are going to help break down, help reduce inflammation. They help break down some of the poisons in your body that you don't need, so that instead of building up and causing damage to your body, or which can take the form of inflammation, these goji berries are going to help break that down. Same with cherries. They have antioxidants in them. Chia seeds are another wonderful product. They've got iron, protein, calcium, antioxidants. They've got a ton of stuff that you can mix into other things that you eat. You can put them in your yogurt. You can put them in on top of a cereal, something like that. So another wonderful food out there that's going to help you in a number of ways. The only product I put in here is whey protein. And I put it in there because it comes up a lot. It's actually found in milk and dairy products, but it's isolated so that it's the protein that's most quickly absorbed by your body. So you'll have a lot of coaches or a lot of nutritionists will tell you that if you take some of this whey protein right after a workout, you're going to be less sore and you're going to be on your way to recovery a lot quicker. So again, there are ways to get this, no pun intended, but there are ways to get this through foods. But this product isolates just the whey protein so that you start on that digestion and recovery a lot faster. Okay, so when to eat. If you are heading off to practice and you're feeling like, I didn't really have time for lunch today, I need something to give me a little bit of energy real quick. So I'm going to have some raisins, or I'm going to have a candy bar or something like that. Some of that stuff does start to get digested right away. The process starts in the mouth, and you're gonna get a little bit of energy from these things almost immediately. Some things like oatmeal or an apple may take up to an hour to digest. But the problem with that is that it gives you a very short-lived burst of energy. And then after that, the levels of sugar in your body actually go down, and that results in this crash phenomenon. So you want to have other carbs in your body that you are ready to burn, okay? So complex carbohydrates, your breads, your pastas, your things like that, that's going to take about 3 hours to break down. So you have to have some of those in your diet 3 hours prior to a competition, a practice, something like that. That's the fuel that your body needs to burn. If you just go on these quick little fixes, it's not going to sustain itself for very long. And this one in the middle here, I thought was an interesting fact that you can apply directly to your sport. We know that your body burns carbs first, right? And then whatever's left over is stored as fat. But your body keeps a small supply of sugar, if you will, to sustain exercise for about 90 minutes, okay? Most of us have practices that last longer than 90 minutes. Some of us have games or competitions that last longer than 90 minutes, okay? So if you don't have enough fuel in your body you're not going to finish strong. It's going to be fourth quarter. It's going to be crunch time, and your body's depleted of some of the sugars and some of the energy that it needs. So you keep that in mind when you're planning out your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, whatever game time is, that you have some of these foods that are going to be in you 3 hours before, so that you can break those down and use those for energy. Proteins and fats take longer. Those are going to take at least 6 hours. So as much as you need those things in your body, pre-meet or pre-competition, pre-game, those foods, like you want to avoid the heavy fat, heavy protein foods, because they're just going to take too long. They're not going to help you if you eat those shortly before a competition. And then this line here, so you said your body will burn through the carbohydrates first, and then it starts to burn fat. After that, your body will actually start breaking down protein to get some energy. And protein is what your muscles are made out of. So we don't want that. You need to have fat in your diet. You need to have fat on you so that your body has energy to burn. If it starts taking away your muscles, you're not going to perform well. You're going to get injured, and it leads to a unhealthy situation. All right, I've got 2 more slides for you. One, caffeine or not. First thing I should say, and most important thing I should say, is that we heard from Jim Davis, I believe his name was, the Good Athlete Project. There's no substitute for sleep, okay? You've got to get your 8 hours of sleep. So whatever your source of caffeine is, if you're a Monster person or a Starbucks or whatever, you don't want to get in the habit of turning to those to supplant the sleep that you need. Caffeine is a drug. It happens to be legal, but it is a drug. It's a performance enhancing drug. So when you rely on caffeine, I get worried about, okay, well, what happens when it's not there? Or what happens when your one drink of Monster isn't doing any good anymore? And then you think, I need more caffeine in order to perform the way I want to perform. So it's a slippery slope. Again, if you're getting the sleep that you need, you shouldn't have to rely on caffeine to get you through your day and to get you through your practice. And then lastly, a sensitive topic, but I think, again, based on what Ivy Watts said and how we need to be able to talk about ourselves and our mental health and kind of get rid of that stigma attached to mental health disorders. Eating disorders are something that is very tricky and very scary. And I think every coach here has dealt with it with an athlete on their team at some point. And while, yes, the statistics say that it's going to affect more females than males, males are not excluded from this. And they very much have to be paying attention to their diet and nutrition plan. It's a very fine line between, I want to work hard, I want to exercise, I want to stay fit, I want to look good and feel good about myself, versus, if I can perform this well at this weight, well, what could I do if I weighed a little bit less? Or what could I do if I looked like that person? That person's fast and he or she's a little bit leaner than me. So maybe if I just lost a little bit of weight and I look like them, well, then I'm going to be faster. It's very dangerous. We walk that fine line of you want to exercise and you want to stay fit, but you can do too much. And when you do too much, like we said, that's when your body starts eating away at itself. It starts eating away at the muscle that you need, and can be dangerous, will lead to injuries, and it could be even worse if not treated. The thing with somebody with an eating disorder, it is a disorder, so they don't think there's anything wrong. They're not going to be the ones that'll come up and say, I've got a problem, let's talk about it. So that's where I ask you, the athletes, to pay attention, listen to what they're saying, and if you're noticing people fixating on their weight or withholding from food during lunch or a pasta dinner or something like that, and you're noticing issues, you be the one that goes to talk to your coach or teacher or counselor or some trusted adult to say, I've got some concerns here. And it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It means you have concerns. And if you have concern about a teammate, that can never be wrong. So don't be afraid to go to somebody and say, I've noticed some things or I've heard some things about this teammate of mine, and I think we need to get some help for them. Because we want everybody, we want warriors to be happy, competitive, successful, this nutrition is a huge part of that, what you put into your body so that you can get the most out of it. All right, thank you everybody for your time. That's all I have.
Awesome, thank you so much, Coach Beaumont. I think this is an area that we've seen really take off in the last 20 to 30 years, right? That's why there's a 43-year-old playing quarterback in the Super Bowl this weekend, and a guy, Ron James, who's had, I don't know how long his career's been, very long, with a lot of mileage on it. I was watching a Lakers game the other day, and not everybody's capable of this, but they said he spends $1 million a year on his body in terms of nutrition and maintenance and all those types of things. But very relevant and something I honestly probably didn't think enough about as a young athlete. But now as you get older, you start to see the impacts of it greatly, but the sooner you realize this, the better.
Thank you so much, Coach Beaumont, and thank you, Warriors, for attending today. If you have any follow-up questions for Coach, please feel free to send him an email. He's more than willing to chat more about what he talked about today, but so many benefits if you're a coach and or a student athlete. Wanted to remind you that we're into February and we're gonna do these every Tuesday, so once a week, instead of last month when we did twice a week. So 1 week from today, hopefully we'll see you at the same time, and if not, we'll continue to post these on the website, but we're excited for next week. We have a DHS alum who's going to talk to us. Her name is Stevie Baker Watson, and she is the athletic director at DePaul University. So she's going to be talking to us about what it takes to be a college athlete and various things like the do's and don'ts of playing in college. So please, if you're able to attend, that would be great. And once again, thank you so much to Coach Beaumont for an awesome presentation today. And Warriors, if you don't have anything else, we had a great time to see you today and hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. So what you're saying, just to be clear, is the reason